Folks, and welcome to Happy Bike Week, and welcome to the first meeting of the new Bike and Pedestrian Commission. I'm Mark Hamilton, chair of this group, and I will call this meeting to order right now. Since we have a new member on our group, which we'll introduce last, ask him to introduce last, we'll do a roll call, and if you could just briefly tell Jim, our new member, how you come to serve in this committee and what you represent, I would appreciate it. So I will start with, up on the right-hand corner, there is Don Krim, and it looks like it's nice in Green Bay, Don. Welcome.
Hello, I love this background. It's our arboretum that our campus is on. So Jim, I was on the original PED Bike Committee about 10 years ago. Avid biker, live in Fitchburg, sharing time though in Green Bay, but have been on the commission now for just 1 year as a returnee, and excited to be back.
Thank you, Don. Next to you, Phil. I think Jim knows you, but go ahead. We're doing roll call at the same time.
Sure. Yes, I'm Phil Groupie. I'm the staff contact for the Bike and Pedestrian Commission. I've been a sustainability specialist with Fitchburg for almost 5 years, and it'll be 5 years in August. So staff a couple of committees, and probably about, 10 to 20% of my role is also dealing with bike network and infrastructure things with public works and other staff members.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go down to the bottom right. Ryan. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey there. So I've been on the bike committee for a little over a year. I live here in Fitchburg in the Allied Duns Marsh portion of the neighborhood, and love all things bicycle related. Do a bunch of stuff with Bikes for Kids Wisconsin for volunteer work, and I'm also a co-chair of Cap City Cyclists, an organization that puts on all kinds of social and group rides throughout the city all year long. We just launched that this year to take over what was the Monday 40 social ride every Monday throughout Madison. So now that's Madtown Mondays through Cap City Cyclists. So good to meet you, and love being on the committee.
Next, our Alder representative, Alder Maldonado.
Hey, Jim. Joe Maldonado. Live in the Belmar neighborhood, a couple houses down from Ryan. Been on council since 2020, and the entire time I've been on the bike committee. I love biking. I used to bike all year round, but it's kind of harder to do that with work. But I love getting out on the trails, and huge advocate for cycling infrastructure.
Thank you, Joe. And Jim, you're the first item when we get to our agenda, so I'm going to ask that you hold your introduction for about 5 more minutes. Is that okay?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. So next we're going to move into approval of the minutes. You have a copy of the draft minutes from April 2nd. I would open that up for discussion as well as consideration of a motion. Is there any discussion? And I would entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
I'll second. Go ahead, Kelly.
Second.
Kelly seconded, moved by Joe and seconded. All those in favor of the draft minutes signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are passed, Phil. Next, item number 3 in our agenda is a public appearance for non-agenda items. And I do not see anybody here on Zoom. And I as well do not see anybody in the Jeannie Seelig room here at City Hall. So I'm assuming we have none. We will keep moving on our agenda on to item number 4. And the first item under that is our new member introduction. So Jim, now it's your turn.
Great, thank you. And good morning. Thanks to all of you for your intros. That was really helpful to hear your voices and get to know you guys a little bit. So it's really helpful and really useful. So thank you for your introduction. I am Jim Denham. I'm really happy to be a part of this commission. My wife and I have lived in the city of Fitchburg for about 6 years. Live right next to McKee Farms Park, so that whole area. And prior to that, I've lived in a number of different major cities: Boston, Chicago, West Virginia, Cincinnati. So I have a lot of experience as a pedestrian. So I'm coming at this from the pedestrian angle. I have ridden bikes. I have ridden tandem bikes several times, but I haven't done that for years. But if anybody wants to have a tandem bike, I'd be happy to do some biking on a tandem bike. But no, I'm a pedestrian. Have a lot of experiences from pedestrian access. My day job, I work as the access technology specialist for the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. I teach people to use computers and cell phones, people who have vision loss to use computers and cell phones. So I am totally blind. I've been totally blind since birth. Happy to answer any questions about that. I mean, even if you have questions, I'm always more than happy to answer questions or whatever. But pretty comfortable, pretty relaxed, pretty laid back. So yeah, I'm really happy to be part of the commission and looking forward to participating. Looking forward to helping Fitchburg move the pedestrian aspect of things forward and promoting pedestrian access and getting people out there walking and moving around and biking and walking and just exercising and out and about. So this looks like a great group and I'm excited to be part of it.
Well, thank you, Jim. Jim and I had an opportunity to meet on Sunday, and I shared our priorities. He is able to look at the stuff that does go out there online for our commission. So I think he is ready to hit the ground running, and we welcome you with open arms. I do have a tandem, so maybe we can talk about that.
There you go. Sounds good. That sounds great.
I don't know how comfortable I am riding it these days, but anyway. Let's move on along to the agenda. The next item, I'm going to turn this to you, Phil, or would you like me to run this? Ordinance 2024 Q11, because I know we're going to lose Dawn at 8 o'clock.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but there's like an echo that's coming. I don't know if other people are hearing it whenever Mark's talking. Maybe it's like there's some sort of other Zoom on or something like that.
I'm going to have to go over there in there and ask him. Sorry.
I can very slowly, as Mark is going over to look into that, start to give a little bit of an overview here of ordinance number 2024-011. I guess actually it probably, Mark, I think we need a motion first before discussion.
Okay. Joe, stop. Sure, we've got tech people working on our echo here. Joe, tell me if you still have it.
Do the rest of the gang, Jim, Phil, Dawn, do you guys hear an echo?
No.
Okay, yeah, I don't see anything.
I'm not hearing one.
Okay, so it's just Joe.
So Phil, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Do we have thank you. Do we have a second? Second from Kelly for the motion. Now we will open it up for discussion. So Phil, the floor is yours.
All right. So pretty briefly, this ordinance is, so when the Bicycle Committee was updated to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission a couple months ago, part of the discussion also had to do with Transportation and Transit Commission has for quite a while had a cross-appointed member from the Board of Public Works who also sat on TTC. This ordinance is a proposal to replace the Board of Public Works member on TTC with a Bike and Pedestrian Commission representative. So somebody on the BPC here would also be appointed to Transportation and Transit. I will say this was approved by TTC. It went to the Board of Public Works and it was approved with an amendment, and the amendment was actually to remove the Board of Public Works member from TTC and just replace them with a general citizen representative. There were a couple concerns raised by a Board of Public Works member about whether there was getting to be, I guess bluntly, whether there was too much bicycle representation on TTC at the expense of other vehicles, but also just kind of thinking about long-term viability of asking somebody to serve on two different committees and just getting more overall representation from Fitchburg's population rather than having people who are taking up spots on multiple committees. But that was the amendment that was passed by Board of Public Works, was just to not have any cross representation, but instead just have an additional citizen member. So that is Ordinance 2024-011, and Bike and Pedestrian Commission is the last group to consider this before it goes to council.
So Phil, just to clarify, and I have heard the same comment you have mentioned, it's not any secret around the city. But my question to you is, so just to clarify, so instead of a Bike and Pedestrian Commission member to join this committee, it would be a general member from the city? Or did I misunderstand?
Who would also,
or
yes, it would be a general member from the city who would fill that spot on TTC. So it looks like either way, TTC will no longer have somebody from Board of Public Works. The question is, the ordinance as written is that a Bike and Pedestrian Commission member would sit on TTC. The amendment from BPW is that it would just be another citizen.
Okay, so which are we talking about approving? The addition of the Bike and Ped member, or the addition of the amendment from them with the general member?
Joe, do you know how that works? I think the question before the commission is the ordinance as written. Am I correct? And then somebody would need to instead move that that BPC either approve the amended one or make its own amendment.
Yeah, we would consider the original, and then yes, if an alder proposes with the amendment, they would have to make that amendment, and then the rest of the council would have to approve that amendment before that altered resolution is made.
Got it. Yeah. So right now it's just the ordinance as written. So somebody could, yeah, as Joe mentioned, somebody could move and get a second on either voting on Board of Public Works change or making their own before, going back then to vote on the ordinance finally. So it's a question of whether anybody with Bike and Ped Commission, and again, there's discussion would be appropriate here, but a question of whether anybody on Bike and Pedestrian Commission would like to approve the ordinance as written or consider amending language.
So Don, did you make a motion on the original amendment?
Yep. So the original ordinance, the ordinance as written is what Don made a motion on and Kelly seconded.
Okay.
So right now that's before the Bike and Pedestrian Commission.
Okay. I just have a comment, and I think that it's very relevant to our discussion at the last meeting. One of our members very appropriately brought up having a good link to that commission, between the two commissions, which made sense. If that doesn't get approved with what the commission approved, the other commission approved, does that impact what we were trying to accommodate, which was a better link with the transit commission? It's just a question. I'm laying it out there. I don't know what do the rest of you think about this proposed amendment that came from the transit commission? Can we talk about that, Phil? I guess we can, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just part of general discussion. You're not voting on it. You would just be discussing.
Yeah, I really want to hear what the other members have to say. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think I understand us wanting to have that link, but I also do understand having, an additional citizen member because it brings another voice in without someone having to do double duty. I think if we don't have that link, we really have to pay very close attention to those agendas, or even our alder that serves on our committee, would have the additional burden of bringing information from those meetings to this body so that nothing is overlooked. I'm not sure how often, there has been issues that we would have weighed in on or not. I don't have that background experience. But I do like the notion of not having somebody do double duty and having an additional voice at the table that currently isn't at the table.
How do others feel? Thank you, Don.
I would favor having a liaison. I think it's important to have that link.
So Joe, you're supporting the original amendment as written, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Is there any other comments or feedback? Kelly, you're the one that suggested this. Where are you on this?
I understand.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
So I watched their meeting after we had talked,
Yeah.
and I understand their concern as well. I guess my thought is it would be great to have the connection, but it would also be nice to have the option of not a forced connection. So if none of us on the committee wanted to serve on that, to make it so that if we could get a citizen representative, that I feel would be okay. I would maybe like it if that citizen representative would want to occasionally come into our meetings as well, if there are issues that overlap well between, just to make sure that stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. I still feel like it would be nice if we were represented there.
So kind of paraphrasing to your last sentence, you kind of agreed with what Don said. I'm trying to look at all this across the spectrum, folks, so. And I concur with your last sentence too, but I don't want a forced, personally, I don't want a forced representation. I think in the past, we have had, none of you were on the committee then except for Phil. We had a gentleman named Andrew McFadden who was extremely engaged with this committee. And Ross has not been as engaged from Public Works as Andrew was. And if we could cement that somehow without making it forced, that's kind of where I'm leaning with this. I think it's also good, as Don said, to get other people involved. At the same point in time, I personally am a little bit frustrated. We continue to hear, I've heard this bike commission called elitist. And I'm not going to say who said that, but we've been called elitist. So all of you folks are wearing that hat. And then I've heard all these comments through the Transient and Transportation Commission. So we somehow need to put this aside and move forward with the betterment of biking and pedestrians and transit and transportation in this town. And I think that's got to be our goal, is to stay on the high road and not what I call sling mud sometimes, so to speak. But that's what I would think we should do. So I'm kind of leaning with, I guess, defeating this amendment as it's came to us right now, and then perhaps considering their approved amendment and see how we can go forward with the codicil that we have a formal relationship established, whether it serves on the committee or not. Does that? Go ahead.
I'll just add, just really quickly, I'm not trying to put my finger on the scale in any way, since I'm not, voting on this, just the staff liaison. If there is not a cross appointment, I think there are other ways to achieve some of what you're talking about in terms of linkages between TTC and Bike Ped Commission. Some of that is just going to be increased staff communication between Ross and myself, and we are trying hard to make sure that we're kind of aware what each other is working on. But I don't think that a Bike and Ped Commission member on TTC is the only way to foster more communication. Just as a consideration.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion on the motion, just to clarify, which is the original one that came to us, ordinance number 2024-011, without the T&T or Board of Public Works amendment, excuse me. Any further discussion? Hey, baby.
Ansel's joining. I'll go ahead and mark him down the attendance as well.
Is there any further discussion?
I'll just say, again, I support the original ordinance, but if I'm on council, I will take consideration of the maybe need to make accommodations as council discusses this.
I think it's very important, Joe, and I appreciate your willingness. I think we need to accommodate what we need to do to get this done and improve, get this committee moved into the next step. We've got Jim on board here. We've got to make some other changes, and I think let's move beyond this. We've already been 3 months in this, maybe 4, and I think it's time we need to move forward. So I'm going, if there's no further discussion, I'm going to call the question on the original amendments that came forward. So if those in favor of it, if you're in favor of it, you're voting as it was originally came to us. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Aye.
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 Okay, so it is 1 to 4, is that correct?
That's what I heard. Yep.
Okay. So secondly, then, we'll consider the amendment that was shared and passed by the Board of Public Works. Is there any further discussion on that other than my codicil, Phil, with our amendment that we ensure there is a firm link between these groups?
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know if that would be a formal amendment to the ordinance language. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. I don't think that would require a formal amendment to the language. It would just be kind of a sort of a point of order friendly amendment.
Okay.
You're correct.
Okay.
But yeah, so you're looking at a motion and second to vote on the ordinance as amended by Board of Public Works to just have a general community member.
Correct.
Okay, so we would need a motion and second for that.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Don made the motion. I will second it. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. We will move forward, and Phil, I will challenge you as our liaison to work out a process where we're able to meet what we can do to move this forward and have Joe help us as it goes to the council. Okay?
Okay. Yep. So I'll note that in the documentation. Now this still goes to council, and they still have the final say on what the approved ordinance language is. So next time we meet, you'll get an update on that, or maybe before.
Well, and again, I think
email the group once it's approved.
it's important we move beyond this. So let's get going, and let's take the new step with this commission forward. So, okay, I'm going to move next to an update on projects for the bike network. I don't see Ross. He's not in the room. He is not on the Zoom call. Phil, do you have any updates?
I don't. I'm just messaging Ross to see if he's able to call in. I don't have any updates myself. I know that so one big one is that the Fitchburg Road from Lacey up to the Nesbitt Road roundabout is going through. We're getting cost estimates on that. So that project is in the planning stages, and I believe we're looking to start construction on that in 2025. It should be completed either in 25 or in 26. I don't know the exact timing on that, but that's one of the bigger upcoming projects this year, where there's going to be completion of the North Saline project. So that includes the extension of Saline Road north of the East Sherrill intersection, all the way up to the Saline intersection with McCoy, including a total redesign of that intersection. I believe it's going to be signalized, but there were presentations on that last year. So that's the biggest one going on this year. But then Fitchburg Road from Lacey to Nesbitt is the next big one coming up. That's going to have a major impact on biking, because there will be shoulders added to Fitchburg, as well as an off-street multi-use path along the east side that extends up underneath the bridge. So that should really help with the bike and pedestrian linkage over there on the west side, kind of between the Orchard Point area and Lacey Road.
Okay. Any questions?
Glad that one's getting.
Go ahead, Don.
Just saying, glad that one's getting done. I've been on that road, and it's a little harrowing. So, is Fitchburg now committed to roundabouts when these neighborhoods are updated, or are they on a case-by-case basis? I just noticed the roundabout on Seminole and Lacey, and then also a one road roundabout on Lacey and over in that new neighborhood just past Sain. Just noticed them, and I appreciate the on ramp, off ramp to get around the circle as a biker.
Yep. Yeah, and that would be, Ross, I don't know if you heard that question. I think we take these still on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the characteristics of the two roads interchanging. But whether, Ross, the question was whether Fitchburg is just committed to doing roundabouts for all new intersections.
So Phil's right. We do take that on kind of a case-by-case basis. Like at the Sain and Lacey and Sain and East Sherrill intersections, there were some traffic characteristics that made those not work well for roundabouts. So we decided to go with traffic signals there. But roundabouts are generally a good solution for most intersections, and they don't require putting up all the traffic signals, obviously, but they do require more land. So we kind of consider that trade-off.
And so we won't be doing a roundabout, for instance, at the Sain-McCoy intersection. There's just not space for it there.
So there is.
And there may be other considerations
there. Yeah, there's other considerations for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Anything else, Phil and Ross, on the infrastructure?
Ross, I told them that we've got cost estimates that have come in or are coming in for the Fitchrona redesign. Is the timing on that still 25 to 26?
Yeah, so construction on Fitchrona will be in purely 2025. There may be some tree clearing in December of 2024, but all the major construction will be in 2025.
Ross, I have a question.
If anybody has,
Kelly,
yeah.
My question to you is a different project. Is Purcell Roads, when's it on the agenda to get redone? It's getting pretty bad out there.
Yeah, so Purcell Road, we were approached by the town of Oregon about Purcell Road, and we're trying to finalize some sort of intergovernmental agreement for that. But it's on our schedule for 2025.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Hold on, Ross. Kelly's got a question here.
Ross, I
Yep.
was wondering if you could talk at all about the issues of Osmondson and Pembroke and the traffic calming situation that is still up in the air for both of those?
Sure. So starting with Pembroke, because that's kind of the one that's been happening more publicly recently. We had a meeting last Thursday, about traffic calming on Pembroke Drive. And the city will be putting up a radar speed sign there to slow cars down. We've got data that shows that the temporary speed board that we put up does slow cars down, so we're going to continue with that, with a permanent one. And then we're also going to be increasing visibility at the stop signs at on Raritan at Pembroke, since that was kind of a common complaint we've heard, is that those stop signs, it seems like people don't pay a ton of attention to them. So increasing visibility with stop bars and retroreflective tape should help with that.
Ross, just my own observation from riding Pembroke quite a bit. The bikers don't stop either at Pembroke and Raritan. So no, as you plan that, be certain that it's taken into your account, because there are a lot of people just blow through that stop sign like they do on Schumann and Osmondson.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, that's hopefully increasing the visibility will help with at least a portion of that. I know there's some, in both cars and bikers, willful disregard of stop signs in
Well, it's
those
downhill
areas,
going
but-
east. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. That's all I had to say about it.
Okay.
And then for Osmondson, we're in the middle of a traffic management process for Osmondson from McKee to Lacey. We just had our 5th meeting for that yesterday, and I'll hopefully today be finalizing a survey to send out to all of the residents on Osmondson to get their kind of feeling on different types of traffic calming. We've got questions about traffic circles, flexible delineators like delineating bike lanes or some sort of on-street multi-use path for the whole way, and some other things like speed humps and additional stop signs, stuff like that. So,
Just a question for the commission. In the future, would it be wise for projects like that to at least be brought to us so that we could sort of give some input on what we feel would be safest and most beneficial for bikers and pedestrians in those instances?
So just one kind of clarification, none of these projects, no specific project-specific items have been brought to any committee or commission on these because we haven't gotten quite that far in the process yet. Pembroke has been talked about at TTC at the request of that commission, but no action was taken.
I think as Ross, as Phil, you missed part of our earlier discussion, Phil, or Ross, but we want to try and better link the Transit Commission, which in my mind also includes our project to Public Works. And in the past, we were brought the projects for the upcoming year when you folks were in planning for them. Even if they didn't get done, we at least had the chance to learn what they were and to offer feedback and input. And I guess I would ask between you and Phil that we reinstitute that into our redesigned commission so that as you start planning for these things, we can ask questions and or offer feedback. Not that it is binding, but I think that we can also, we're all on the same page. So that's to clarify that, because we used to have that pretty regularly with Andrew.
This is Jim with a question.
Go ahead, Jim.
So when you're talking about on-street multi-use paths, just to clarify, you're not talking about sidewalks. You're talking about an extra lane that's there primarily for bicycles, but you're not talking about sidewalks. Is that correct?
Correct. So we can't do sidewalks on Osmondson or Pembroke or in a lot of other areas of the city because we would need 75% of the affected residents to approve of it. So I shouldn't say we can't do, but it's difficult.
This came up, what was it, about 8 years ago now, that there was 2016, yeah, so 8 years ago, that there was a push to increase sidewalks in existing communities, and that got some pushback to the point that a new ordinance was passed that, 75% of residents in a community have to vote to approve addition of sidewalks. So it's standard to add them to all new neighborhoods, but existing ones, the bar is quite a bit higher.
Okay, further discussion about projects. Thank you for joining us, Ross. And again, you have an open invitation to attend our meeting on a regular basis. Next, I'm going to move along to the Bike and Ped Commission restructuring. And I think we've been about 3 months into this now, and I'm just going to offer 3 points. One is we have become from a council committee to a commission. Number 2, we are adding 1 to 2 members in the future with a pedestrian focus, and Jim is the first addition here. Number 3 is that we hope to make 8 to 10 meetings a year, and I have a formal request into Chad and Phil for that to begin starting. I hope we can start in August so that we can at least have 2 meetings before the end of the year about just pedestrians and talk about that and get feedback. And then 4 is we need to get started in earnest on the bike and ped plan update. You were all sent by me 2 months ago, I think, the take on there's only about, as Jim and I talked about on Sunday, there's only about 4 pages in the plan from 2017 that really focuses only on pedestrian activity, and our committee in the past hadn't even looked at it. So we need to update on that. And as we move all this forward, Phil, I know you're going to cover this during your update, but where are we on getting a consultant to help us refresh our plan?
We released an RFP about a month ago for the bike and pedestrian plan update. I had 10 or 11 different parties download the RFP on the site that we use. Nobody actually submitted for that RFP. So we're revisiting that. I've reached out to a couple of the companies to find out why they didn't, if there was, if they just felt that it wasn't a good fit for them, if there was anything about the way that the RFP was written that kind of scared them away, and we're going to be making some amendments or adjustments to the RFP based on that, and we'll release it again probably this month.
Okay. All right. So it's tantamount. I think we get that going. We have done the background work in looking at every page, every recommendation, and I think we're just waiting to get that green light. The other thing is, I sent all of you a document we got from Mayor Arata Frada about pedestrian activity and the Mayor's Council that talks a lot about, well, the whole document's on pedestrian activity. So if you get a chance to read that, please take a look at it. And we begin to use that as some of our background material. I have also tasked Jim, as he's joined our committee, to next meeting, I'd like to have some talk about walking through this city and his ideas, and more importantly, the difficulties he's had to move us forward. So I want to begin this transition at the August meeting with our primary focus the next 12 months, I hope, is the bike and ped plan. It includes getting the pedestrian linked in. Second of all, we need to ensure that we're also keeping moving forward on our goal journey. We are making progress. Have we made enough to move us from silver to gold yet? I don't know. But I think those have to be our key things while we maintain a visibility as a committee, while we link with our city colleagues and our community, and then lastly, to ensure that we're active in terms of everything that we're doing and proactive. So that's kind of my vision about this. I talked to Andy Potts a little bit and Don about it because I knew Don was going to leave early. And do any of you, are we missing anything? So I guess I would ask you for your feedback there. I think I put everybody to sleep. All right, well then we're going to proceed ahead that way, and Phil, you and I can talk offline about what we need to do to get 2 more meetings added, because Chad already knows this, as does Julio.
Yep. Will the decision about 2 additional meetings be happening offline? Is that something that should be discussed now, which months to add in? It may be different this year than next year. Maybe going forward, May is a meeting that people really want to have, and obviously that can't happen in 2024. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to settle those months now or if that'll just happen offline.
I think I'd rather wait. I mean, I'm open to either. It's flexible. I mean, what do you folks think? I certainly don't want to do it in anything in July. It's summer. We've already got an August meeting. Do we want to ask the city to let us add 1 meeting in the fall there between September and November is all we got? Because we already have the other 2 months filled.
Could also just add September this year, and then so you'd have 7 this year and then increase to 8 next year. That's a possibility.
I'm flexible with this. What do the rest of you think? I mean, as long as we're moving forward on all this, because that's why we became a commission, was to be more active and to add pedestrian to our mantra.
I support Phil's suggestion.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say I like Phil's suggestion as well.
All right, well, Phil, so you have a request from the commission to ask the city, and if you need some help from me, let me know. I think it's...
All right, we'll do. I'll make that happen.
Jim, I think I saw your hand up.
Nope, I'm good. I'm good, thanks.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, the next item is one that in 2021, our committee made a presentation to the council, to the committee of the whole, and Joe had gotten us in front of that group. We had asked last spring to go in front of the group to kind of let them know what we're doing, but I think with all this transition, we kind of put that on a holding pattern, and I would like to propose to the commission that we work with Joe and Phil to have a presentation to this commission in the fall, to share our priorities, let them know where we are with restructuring, let them know what our concerns are, let them know what we're doing in terms of the bike ped plan and the movement to gold. I continue to get asked by city and chamber leadership is where are we on the gold journey? And as I said, I was asked by the city to kind of let that kind of go in the background while the bike ped plan commission stuff started going forward, or by the bike ped plan started going forward, and then to link that in, because that was the second recommendation from the bike league. That was that they were concerned about, was that our plan was already out to date, despite the fact we had put a lot of activity into it. So Joe and Phil, if we could identify sometime in the fall to go before the committee of the whole, then we can begin working on a presentation, invite all our committee members, commission members to attend the meeting and give them an update. I want to show them we're engaged.
Sure. So that's that call is on the council president, Alder Gearhart. So if we want to do that, we just need to let her know that that's an interest, and as she's scheduling meetings, she can put that on the docket.
So do I need to send her a note, Joe or Phil, or do you guys want to do that? I'm flexible. I can't do this before, so I think September is the minimum we do it. I think I want us to have a little bit of restructuring time before we get in front of them. Because they supported us, and you did too, Joe, by moving to a commission. And I think it's important they know what we're doing.
Yeah, I can send Gabriella a message about it.
Okay, all right, well, so we're moving on from that. So we are on the next item on our agenda, which is the bike-friendly committee update discussion. This will be a 2-minute discussion. Steve Arnold and I primarily have been working on getting more bike-friendly businesses in this city, and we had, I'm looking for my list, we had a number that were just named new bike-friendly businesses this May, and we're still working on 5 or 6 more, and those businesses that just became new bike-friendly ones in Fitchburg were Saris, they are silver. The McKenzie Center for Boys and Girls Club, Chocolate Shop, Encompass Health, Hop House, and Rutabaga were all bronze. And Thirsty Goat got an honorable mention, and we're trying to find out from the Bike League why they got an honorable mention versus a bronze rating, and we're in the process of looking at that. We have 4 or 5 others that were submitted by the June deadline. We'll learn late summer, and then we've got another 5 to 10 identified to move on in the fall, but we're not, Steve and I kind of agreed to step back from this for the summer and get into it in the fall. It doesn't take that long, but you've got to have the business engaged. For example, I'm working with me and Julio's. I am working with the new assisted living center on Wilshire. I am working with the new the thing next to Hop House, and I've got one more that escapes me, but Tapatio's. We have those 4 that will be going in sometime late summer, early fall. So our goal is to get to about 25 or so, and I think we're doing quite well for a city of 32,000 people. If you've read the new website that just came out from the Bike League this week at Destination Madison, they are putting a big push on bike-friendly businesses. So it's a good thing that we're doing this. I think that there's a retail component for this for bicycle benefits, particularly more for things like ice cream shops, bars, and restaurants, et cetera. So, any questions about that? Should we be proceeding any differently? If any of you have businesses you want us to think about, let us know. We have learned that banks aren't very interested, but the retail pieces are, or people that have bikers, that have places for people to take showers, that have bike racks, etc., are what we're focusing on. So if you got any other ideas, let us know, but we're not going to get into this till the fall. Yes?
Churches. I know Memorial United Church of Christ has talked to Steve about getting recognized and participating. Have we reached out to any other churches to see if they'd be interested?
No.
I didn't even realize they could necessarily, but
Well, anybody can apply.
yeah.
Any organized business can apply. So no, we can certainly put churches on our list. I don't have any issue with that. I think that as I said, we learned a lesson with banks and accounting firms. Unless you've got somebody who's in biking, there truly isn't a retail component, and they don't have people that ride to the place. So no, we can certainly add churches. They'll literally jump into the fall.
And there is the one they're pretty close to being almost ready. They've accomplished most of what needs to be done to be recognized.
Good, that's good. That's very good. The more we can get, the more bike-friendly we make the town. It's good for everybody involved. So that's really it. If there's no other discussion on bike-friendly businesses, let us know. And as I said, the bike-friendly city application, we hope to submit it in 2026. But we've got to get some of these things done before we can even consider submitting it. If you choose to go back and look at the old dashboard we got, there were 10 or 12 items on there. And I can honestly say we're making progress on all but one of them. And that one has to do with working with our state legislature on bike-friendly laws and things. And my guess is they put that in everybody's bike application, but I could be wrong. So I think we are moving forward, but we felt that 2026 was the right time to reapply. So, okay, I'm going to keep moving this forward, let you guys get out of here early. Next is some report from our departments that support us. Council Maldonado, anything you to add today?
I do not have any additions, no.
I would like to say thank you, Joe, for all your support, both in this transition and whenever we've asked for anything like bike racks for parks or things like that. You've been very supportive. So thank you for your support, and we'll continue to support you as you need things from us. Phil, you're next. Oh, sorry. Phil, you're next.
Okay. Already talked a little bit about the bike and ped plan update RFP. Still working on expanding B-Cycle. Just trying to not let it get lost in the mix of other things going on. But we do have more docs to put out, primarily at city parks and other city sites. Working with Helen with B-Cycle on identifying locations and then making those happen. So as that gets closer to reality, I'll bring that to the commission again. And then for B-Cycle, we also have, we're trying to get passes to the library that they can distribute to their patrons free of charge. And we've also got $2,500 budgeted this year from the city to purchase some passes and distribute them to community organizations. Kind of trying to hammer out right now just some liability things. If you sign up for B-Cycle individually, you agree to assume any liability. Let's say if the bike gets damaged, because the goal of these passes is equity and trying to make sure that we're getting them to people who don't necessarily aren't necessarily in a spot that they can pay for the passes themselves. We're looking at whether there's a way to also remove that sort of potential financial liability, but that's a bit of a difficult process. So once we get that figured out, then we'll be getting those passes distributed. Yeah, that's all I got from the city side.
Okay. All right, since we're down a member and we've had Andy who couldn't join us today, there is nobody here from Bike Fitchburg. They are supporting the Velo Underround, I'm sure, at Bike to Work Week, which is going on. And I know the only thing I can add in my link with them is, as Jim may not know, I try and attend their monthly meetings just as a liaison or a conduit between this committee and them, because there are different things they do relating to biking versus us. And they're really going hard at Cycling Without Age, which is the senior initiative run through the Wisconsin Bike Fed. And Mark Wilkerson is working on that with a committee that spun out of us asking them to work on it, because it's one of the things that the Bike League told us to do, which is to do new and different things. And it's beginning to get some traction across town. So stay tuned with that. They're very active. You'll probably hear more. Excuse me a second. Sorry. And other than that, I don't have anything else. That they're getting ready for their fall ride. And as I said, there's a lot of work they're doing on Bike to Work Week. Or month, excuse me. June is Bike Month. So are there any further announcements from the committee members? Hearing none, I will let you know that our next meeting is Friday, August 6th. We have some work to do between then. If you could also re-look at the bike ped plan, particularly the pedestrian component. And we will begin to discuss that on Tuesday, August 6th at 7:30, which is our next meeting. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion made by Joe, seconded by Ryan. Okay, we got some time here. I would encourage everybody to go over and get a free, at the Velo Underground, a free brat wrapped in a waffle. I'm going to go over and experience this for the first time. So thank you, folks, and again, be patient as this restructuring comes forward. I'm very glad we're going to have Joe still in our corner, because he'll be able to help us through that component. And Phil here too will get this done. And as soon as we get a consultant, we are ready to start running on this bike ped plan update. So thank you. And Jim, welcome to our committee. I think you'll be a great addition, and we'll have you prepared the next meeting to begin to discuss walking in the city.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
With that, I will tell everybody goodbye and wish you a happy rest of the week, and be good. Thank you.